Welcome back to today's episode of Thursday Coffee with Eddie Links. Today we're going to cover the NBA draft, the Kevin Durant trade, and then everything else NBA and college football coming up for this 2025 season. The Houston Rockets gave up their entire franchise, the entire future of their franchise for Kevin Durant. They gave up Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 overall draft pick in the upcoming draft, and five second round draft picks. Five human beings in the second round the Houston Rockets gave up for Kevin Durant, who is far past his prime. What does this mean? This means that the Houston Rockets are in win now mode. Not only win now, they are in win next year or bust mode. After next year, the Houston Rockets will have everything that they need to complete it. In 2 years from now, you can't expect Kevin Durant to be the number one option on your basketball team. So, with that being said, in order to win a championship, the Houston Rockets need Reed Shepard, their first round draft pick from last year, to be fantastic and to make a leap into his second year. They need Kevin Durant to be the Kevin Durant that he once was. They need team chemistry, and Ime Udoka needs to just keep being the best head coach in the entire NBA. Ime Udoka is special with his ability to coach a team, and that's why the Rockets were so great this past year. And then moving forward with Amon Thompson, Kevin Durant, Fred VanVleet, Reed Shepard, and the rest of the crew, the Rockets are going to be scary. Kevin Durant's trade to the Rockets was the first crazy move of this NBA season, but it's not going to be the last. The NBA insiders are expecting to see 7 to 10 draft night trades coming up before or during the NBA draft. That's almost unprecedented. So what we're going to see is a lot of teams going from contenders to win now mode. Teams that need to be in that mix. The Houston Rockets made their trade. The Warriors need to make a trade. Lakers need to make a trade. The Mavericks may make a couple moves as well. There are so many teams that need to make moves in order to go to the next level and to be able to win that NBA championship. And the Mavericks set the standard. The Mavericks chasing an NBA title with the Anthony Davis trade set the standard for everything that you're going to see during the upcoming NBA draft. When the Mavericks went win now mode and the Lakers went win now mode, that caused everybody else who doesn't have a young core. Basically, if you're not the Cleveland Cavaliers or Oklahoma City Thunder, every other team is breaking up what they have and they're going out to go get championship pieces now. Everybody with age, the Lakers, Warriors, Celtics, Mavericks, Nuggets, every single team in the NBA is willing to cash in what they currently have just for an opportunity at the 2026 NBA title. The 2026 NBA season is going to be the best season that we've ever seen in NBA history because it's going to be this huge. The 2026 NBA season may be the best NBA season we've ever seen because there's going to be a huge division between the young guys and all of the older crews. All of the old guys are at the end of their prime now. Steph Curry, LeBron, KD, they're all at the end of their prime and they're saying, "How can we get one last ring to salvage my legacy?" All of the young guys are on teams with young cores who are good now and are going to be good in the future. The Timberwolves, the Thunder, the Pacers, etc. So next year, you're literally going to see old guys versus young guys, and you're going to see different generations of athletes compete against each other head to head more than we've ever seen before. Generally speaking, there's old guys on the same team as young guys. What we're seeing now is NBA teams are going out to make win now moves. So that's putting all of the older guys on the same team, all of the younger guys are on win now cores, and it's going to be the most insane basketball season that we've ever witnessed. The Golden State Warriors have to make a move during the NBA draft. The Golden State Warriors are incapable of winning an NBA championship with Jonathan Kuminga on the roster. Kuminga is probably the Warriors' most valuable asset that they have in terms of trading someone, and they need to be able to make that trade during or before the NBA draft. If they're able to give up Kuminga and then this year's current draft picks, they'll actually be able to get a player who's meaningful to the Warriors for not only this year, but the year following as well. The Warriors have a super small window with Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green has played his best basketball, so they really need to figure something out now. There's no team in the NBA who is in greater win now mode than the Golden State Warriors. They have to get a ring for Stephen Curry because if Stephen Curry gets a fifth ring, his legacy is going to be greater than LeBron's. And they're both playing against a time clock. I have to say this. Being tall and dunking a basketball is not a skill. AJ DeBonsa is not a skilled basketball player. It doesn't matter if he's playing high school ball, AAU ball, or on the Team USA practice camp. All that he's capable of doing, and the only highlights that you ever see of him, is him dunking a basketball, playing against guys who are smaller than him, getting to the rim, dunking a basketball. All he's able to do is be more physically dominant than the guys he's playing against. So, my question about AJ DeBonta is what happens when he goes to college and all of his opponents are 22 and 23 years old who are physically developed and ready to play against him? What happens to AJ DeBonsa when he goes to the NBA? And everybody was an AJ DeBonsa at one point in time. His game is not going to translate. You have never seen an athlete who is the most athletic guy translate to the NBA. Great example, Zion Williamson jumping over people. Zion was 10 times better than AJ DeBonsa, but he still is struggling in the NBA. You can't expect AJ DeBonsa to have any success in the NBA when all you've ever seen is him dunking the ball and laying it up. You could look at a million guys like that who didn't pan out. Alex Poitras. AJ DeBonsa's player comp is Alex Poitras from the University of Kentucky. He's an athletic freak. He can jump over people. He can dunk the ball home. He's not a consistent shooter. He doesn't make other guys on his team better, right? If you ask him to play defense, maybe he will. Those are all things that Alex Poitras did. Obviously, Alex Poitras suffered an injury, and that's why he didn't go to the NBA and have a great long career. But while he was at Kentucky, Alex Poitras was one of the best players on the team. Same kind of guy that AJ DeBonsa is. AJ DeBonsa needs to be on a team with great players. When you put him on a team where it's just himself, all of that stuff is going to get exposed. If you put him on a team with great players, he'll be able to get more actions within the offense itself. I believe that AJ DeBonsa should have gone to a larger university. He should have gone to a Kentucky, Kansas, or Duke if he actually wanted to prove something to NBA scouts. AJ DeBonsa playing at BYU is the same thing as AJ DeBonsa playing in AAU. He's the only guy on the floor. They're going to give it to him every time, let him shoot as much as he wants to, and there will be no expectation for AJ DeBonsa to play defense because he is the only offensive option. Who would you rather have for your NBA franchise? AJ DeBonta or Cooper Flagg? Both AJ DeBonta and Cooper Flagg were in the same high school class coming out of high school, but Cooper Flagg classed up. People are saying that Cooper Flagg classed up because he didn't want to be in the same NBA draft as AJ DeBonsa. He wanted the moniker, the number one overall draft pick, and he didn't want to compete for it. So it was easy for Cooper Flagg to class up because if you look at this NBA draft class, there's no other superstars. There's not a lot of other really, really, really talented players. So Cooper Flagg saw an opportunity to be the easy number one overall draft pick in this year and run from AJ DeBonta, who was going to give him tough competition for that the following year. But what I want to know before this all plays out, before we see either of them in the NBA, comment below and tell me who would you rather have on your NBA team, AJ DeBonta or Cooper Flagg? ESPN recruiting platforms are completely biased to big names and social media recognition. Cameron and Caden Boozer are not top 20 recruits. Neither of them are top 20 recruits. Why are they being recruited so highly? Because their father is Carlos Boozer, an NBA legend. These guys aren't that good. And Caden Boozer is not good at all. The only reason that Boozer is top 20 in any aspect is because of his brother. His brother is actually a great basketball player. Cameron Boozer actually has the size to be an NBA player. He's 6'9", he's built like his dad, and that's going to be able to translate to the league. When you look at Caden Boozer, he's 6'4". That means that he's 5 inches shorter than his brother, 5 or 6 inches shorter than his dad. He's undersized within the family. He's not recruited as highly. He's not as good as basketball because that should be a power forward. He's just an extremely undersized power forward. Just because you put the basketball in his hands and tell him to bring it up the court doesn't make him a point guard. Hayden Boozer's game is not ready for Duke at all. And it's not ready for the NBA and college basketball. Hayden Boozer should be at a mid-major college program playing basketball, developing his game, and getting ready to stay there for 4 or 5 years. Cameron Boozer should be ready to go to the NBA. In a year or two, Cameron Boozer is an NBA player. Will he go to the NBA first year? I don't think so. Cameron Boozer has a lot of deficiencies with his game as well, but he's a lot better than his brother Caden. The biggest spotlight for this college football season is on Carson Beck. Carson Beck transferred from SEC Georgia to the University of Miami, who is notorious for having good football teams all along the way and not producing good quarterbacks. Especially now, the University of Miami plays in the ACC. They haven't developed good quarterbacks while they've had talent there for the last 15 or 20 years. Every single year, they've had talent at that position. Up until Cam Ward, Miami was incapable of putting any of those guys in the NFL and translating their career into NFL dollars. So when you look at Carson Beck, what would make you want to go from an SEC powerhouse where you were the starting quarterback for 3 years in a row on one of the best teams in the country, and now you want to transfer to the University of Miami? When Carson Beck first transferred there, he transferred for his girlfriend. He's no longer there for his girlfriend. So my question begs, Carson Beck, do you still want to be a Miami Hurricane or do you wish that you had stayed at Georgia? Making decisions irrationally and based off of emotion at this point in your career isn't smart. College kids need agents. Carson Beck needs an agent who should have told him, son, stay at Georgia. You're already at one of the best programs in the country, getting the spotlight that you need to become an NFL player. When you go to the University of Miami, nobody watches them play football. So you are going to have a hard time getting scouted at the University of Miami. James Franklin has overstayed his welcome at Penn State. Penn State this upcoming year has two running backs who were supposed to be NFL players. Neither of them were able to go to the league. Both of them had to return for another year of college due to James Franklin. That's your fault. If you can't develop your players and you can't develop talent that is clear NFL talent, that is a problem with the system and the coaching. If you look at Penn State's receivers, Penn State has great receivers out there. Julian Fleming was an Ohio State Buckeye. Julian Fleming was supposed to be one of the best receivers in the entire country. Penn State can't get him the ball because Penn State doesn't throw the football. So if you don't throw the football and you have two NFL running backs and neither of them are able to even declare for the NFL draft, that is a problem with the coaching and the system. Penn State football has maintained mediocrity for too many years. They have a great program, they have a strong fan base, and they have supporters and NIL dollars who are willing to pour into the program. The only thing wrong with Penn State football is the man in charge of everything. It is impossible to win a national championship or to have true success in college football if your head coach is not the caliber of head coach that you need to do what your goals are set to do. James Franklin is not fit to be the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions, and he's proven that over the years, over and over and over. How many years does Dan Lanning have left until he leaves Oregon for a tier one college football program? This is what I mean when I say tier one. Oregon's football team is decent. They're good from year to year. They just got moved into the Big Ten, so that's going to change things for them. Oregon's not going to be able to compete in the Big Ten. So how many years are recruits and Dan Lanning going to keep showing up and losing to better schools? If Nike ever moved away from Oregon, only thing Oregon has going for them is that they're a Nike school and that Nike is located there. If Nike was not affiliated with Oregon, no recruit would ever go to school there. There would be no presence for their football team, and you likely never would have heard of the Oregon Ducks at all. At all. I'm saying as a university, you never would have heard of the Oregon Ducks at all. You can go to any other football program, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, all way better football programs historically and currently than the Oregon Ducks. Dan Lanning is a top 3 or 4 head football coach in the entire country. So, how many years is Dan Lanning going to continue to settle for mediocrity with a program that wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Nike? If there was no Nike, you never would have heard of Oregon University, and that's what makes them a tier 2 program. If they were a tier one college football program, you would have heard of them regardless because of the culture and the people and the players. Oregon is a new fad, and it's not going to be long until that runs out. What Oregon offers recruits isn't unique anymore. Kids can get money and swag from any university now. If you give a kid $1 million, he doesn't need you to give him a bunch of free Nike socks and Nike t shirts. Kids can go to UNLV now, get cash money, and do way better for themselves than they would be able to do at a school like Oregon. With that being said, Oregon has about 2 years left before everybody realizes that Nike working alongside them does nothing. Nike offers nothing to college kids from a recruiting aspect outside of cool uniforms. With that being said, kids are going to stop going to Oregon because there's no reason to go. We don't need Nike gear. We don't need Nike swag. We don't need Nike apparel. Just give me Adidas and give me $5 million, and I'm not going to say anything. That's a perspective that you're going to see from college kids and high school kids when they start recruiting to other universities not named Oregon. The University of Tennessee thought that they were making a good decision by getting rid of Nico. They should have just paid that man their money. The University of Tennessee now has no quarterback, nobody in contention, no idea from camp who's even competing for the starting job. All you had to do was pony up a few $1 million, pay Nico his money, and then you would have had him for not only this year, but another year as well. So while in the moment it sounds like, oh, we're setting the standard for our program, we're letting kids know what they can and cannot do, we're taking the control back for NIL, it really would have been smart for Tennessee to just pay Nico the money that he asked for. The NCAA is going to come down on NIL. They're going to collapse the rules. They are going to be the ones to put guidelines and barriers around what NIL actually is. To be a college university trying to limit NIL and or put your foot down as to what you're going to pay someone is idiotic. You're telling them to walk out the door same day, just the way that Nico did. You're telling them to walk out the door and go to another university that will pay them, and those schools will do it. So the only person getting hurt from putting your foot down and setting an example is the university who lost out on a great football player. Vince Marrow going to Louisville crippled the University of Kentucky's football program. The only reason that kids came to the University of Kentucky for football is because Vince Marrow. Vince Marrow is more so the face of Kentucky's football program than Mark Stoops, than the starting quarterback, the starting receiver, any. There's no individual Kentucky football player who sticks out and is known more so than Vince Marrow is known around Kentucky. With that being said, that's detrimental to Kentucky because if Vince Marrow could get kids to commit to Lexington, Kentucky, he's going to be able to get kids to commit to, then he will also be able to get kids to commit to Louisville, Kentucky, which is just an hour away. Vince Marrow is great at his job. I respect Vince in every single way. But he's going to be going from the biggest proponent of Kentucky football to literally the man who will not allow them to get any recruits in state or out of state. If you come to the state of Kentucky, you're going to go to Vince, and that's going to be at Louisville. He's also going to be the man who is responsible for dominating the Kentucky Louisville football rivalry. This is going to flip everything for Kentucky because Vince Marrow was the only piece of Kentucky football that actually mattered. Ace Bailey is refusing to meet with NBA teams unless they give him a promise. Where do these kids get the idea that any of this stuff is even acceptable? Ace Bailey played on Rutgers last year and they were a losing college basketball program. He was the star player and he had another top 5 recruit and top 5 NBA draft pick who played a lot alongside him as well, Dylan Harper. So how can 2 top 5 NBA draft picks have zero success on the college level? And then on top of that, you have the unmitigated gall to tell NBA teams, I'm not even going to come and sit down and have lunch with you unless you promise me an NBA contract and draft pick. That is insane. If I was Ace Bailey, I would be trying to meet with any NBA team that even texted my phone. I wouldn't expect to be a top 5 or 6 draft pick. Ace Bailey can get the exact same treatment that Shadur Sanders got because he wasn't that impressive on the basketball court, and he needs to make sure that his emotions and his interactions and the way that he's coming off with these NBA teams is well protected. Ace Bailey needs to do a better job of managing his image because anybody can get Shadur Sanders in 2025. Dylan Harper being a top 5 NBA draft pick still blows my mind. Not only was he inconsistent while he was on the basketball court, but he also showed that he was injury prone. So when I look at Dylan Harper, I say, okay, this is a point guard who's not going to be on the court, who's not going to be on the court a lot. It's a point guard who doesn't lead to winning for his team. And it's a point guard who played alongside another top 5 NBA draft pick and didn't make him any better throughout the entire season. Dylan Harper would be my most skeptical draft pick of the entire NBA draft because my question is, what does Dylan Harper do? What does Dylan Harper do that other guys can't do? Besides the fact that he's a 6'6 point guard, what is he special at? Can he shoot? Can he dribble? Can he pass? Can he play defense? I haven't heard any of this stuff about Dylan Harper. They just say that he's going high just because he was supposed to go high. I would watch for him to fall because there's no reason to pick him high and so many reasons to pick him low and let him slide.